He's a lot bigger than he, like I thought he was like a 12-incher. Like I can do this all day. This is like half deer hunting. Come on. Not a bad start. What we're doing today is we're out, you know, it's flat calm. A lot of things going on. You got shad spawn, garden fry, probably still, you know, some random ones spawning, but literally what we're doing is, you know, a lot of times it scares you when the water's this clear. I'm actually using it to my advantage, just going down the bank, casting a Ned rig. And what it is, you know, light line. A lot of times you think, oh, you know, the water's clear, I'm scared to go, the wind's gotta blow. Well, now they can see good. And like I'm literally like every 30 yards just throwing that worm. And I really believe if they see it, like 90% of the bites will happen when it falls because they just see it, you know, and it's natural. It's not a spinnerbait or a, you know, a big swim bait, which I have one laid out in case we come across a tree or something, but yeah, just using the clear water to my advantage. I'm gonna say we're probably gonna get a lot of bites, and you know, throwing a little bait, you're gonna catch some smaller fish. It's just the way it is, but you're gonna catch some good ones too. There's just not a lot of options when it gets this clear and flat. I mean, it's not like you can just go down through there with the chartreuse and white spinnerbait and catch them. Them little cracks and stuff in them rocks, just something where they can build a hotel room. Uh-oh. He was out there deeper than I expected him to be. This water's so clear. Here, buddy. Might start fishing it out a little bit because he was out there like 15, probably 12 or 15. That's cool. You know, one of the things is, and I'm probably guilty of worse than anybody, is you're like on this clear water, you're like, ah, it limits this and it limits that. You know, it takes away your spinnerbait fishing for the most part. It takes away a lot of the stuff that I like to do. But yeah, when it gets clear like this, it opens up. Like the lake, I've watched the lake change. Like these fish, they spawn here. Typically the first wave, you know, they spawn this deep. I don't care how clear the water is. But now I mean, you can see 10 foot deep in these fish that spawn. Like they've changed. Like they want to be out there in 12. It's almost like table rock, 12, 14 to spawn, and you know, guard fry and all that kind of stuff. So even though it's clear and it's not, I mean, it wouldn't be terrible to be frogging somewhere, but you got to catch some fish too. I don't know what it is, but he's not that big. He's probably hooked in the corner of the mouth. swing them when you got them up in there, up on top. Easy, buddy. Get a new worm. Just an 1/8 ounce Trocard NED, 10-pound leader. I could probably, 8 would probably be better, but just not wanting to retie one right now. Just a little ugly bait that freaking catches them. You know, it used to, in the beginning when I'd throw it, like we'd go to New York or something, I would just take a dinger and cut it in half. And it felt like I was always, you know, tearing my bait up and stuff. Well, it's just a different, like, the bait's made different. These are tougher, so they last a lot longer. I mean, if you get in a bind, you can take a dinger and cut it in half. But these last a lot longer. And I think that tail, with it being more dense, that tail will kind of stand up. So what I'm doing, like, is throwing it out there. I'm not trying to get real close to the bank. I just feel like that they're, you know, that if I land 10 foot off the bank or 15, I still think they can see it. So I'm trying to land kind of where I think they are on that 10 to 15. And then just letting the clear water do the rest. And another thing, like, I'm working it pretty high, and the reason for that is I feel like if you keep it above the rocks for a little bit, they can see it. Like, you know, if they're on bottom over here and you bring it up, they can see it. If you crawl in the rocks, yeah, you're gonna come across some and get some bites. But I just feel like in this clear water, the more you keep that bait up off the bottom, the more fish are gonna see it. Not a smallmouth, but I bet they're largemouth too. Like, it's just spawning out here. Deeper. Literally 11 foot deep. If I had to bet money, I'm gonna say he's spawning. It's just, you just gotta think about the strike zone. Even though I'm out here, you know, on this flat just casting around, the strike zone, like how far they can see. So it's not like, you know, and I'm not gonna cast and then, you know, 6 foot to the left. I'm just gonna bomb away rather, you know, if I see a, you know, a rock or a stump or something on live scope or a fish, just bombing out here. Like I think a lot of these, like that dude might be on my bait. He is. We got so much stuff on the floor. I wish you could talk to them. I wish they'd say, I'm down there guarding fry, or just so you feel like you figured out. Just a old male. Like, I'm 95% sure this is the second wave that are just spawning out here a little bit deeper. Like he's headed right to it. It's almost like New York fishing. And I think what's probably, you know, I'm not just throwing at fish, if I see a rock, just one rock, that's what they typically like to spawn on, just, you know, on this flat, just one old isolated rock or something that they can put their back to. And I might be wrong. I mean, these may be just post-spawn fish that are, just out cruising around. Don't matter as long as we can catch them. So much fun. About 3 casts ago, I was like, I should retie. A lot of these, you know, these fish are going to spawn differently. I mean, there's a little bit of overlap, but for the most part, you know, your largemouth is going to get, you know, in the creeks. You know, on the main lake, when they spawn, they're going to be, you know, kind of up there shallower. A good rule for smallmouth, I think, is, you know, on the lakes where we're around. I mean, I've been Table Rock, Bull Shoals. They're always going to spawn about 2 foot or a foot deeper than you can actually see. So if you can see 5 or 6 foot deep, they're going to spawn 7 or 8. Largemouth will typically, especially that first wave, they'll get up there, you know, a little bit shallower. I'm not saying they won't spawn out there deeper, because they do. But that second wave, when they come in, I think it's just the water temperature. You know, in the beginning, that top, you know, 3 foot is warmer, so they kind of flock to that. And by the time the second wave comes in, you know, that water temperature is more conducive down there, 8 or 10, 12 foot deep. But the clearer it is, the deeper they're, for the most part, they're going to spawn. You'll see some that's up there dirt shallow, and it's just the opposite. You know, as dirty as it is, they got to have sunlight penetration, and that water's real dirty. They're not going to spawn out there 7 or 8 foot deep. They just don't get the light penetration that they need. But there is a little bit of overlap. I've seen them kind of side by side a few times. But all in all, you know, a smallmouth, he wants to be more like gravelish. You know, like this pea gravel point coming up, that'd be a good spot for several of them to spawn. Largemouth, he'd get up there around them bushes and stuff like that. Typically on this lake, about the time the largemouth are done spawning is when the smallmouth kind of kick in real good. He's a lot bigger than he, like I thought he was like a 12-incher. Now, like, look at that black behind you. Like, I can do this all day. This is like half deer hunting. But that smallmouth, he hadn't seen us. He was coming. He might get it. Look at the one. Oh. Here comes another smallmouth that I hadn't seen. Oh, he saw us. Look at this, it's black. Look how clear it is. Like, snow male. See, he's got no signs of spawning. Dude, I don't know. I'm just as confused as whenever we started. I do know one thing. That water gets clear, and I know that don't look like much. Just a little Ned worm, yum Ned worm. I mean, we literally went a couple hundred yards and fished a couple hundred yards of bluff, and I don't know how many bites we've had. So super clear. That's the only thing, I mean, like I would not do it in dirty water. Anytime of clear water and the fish are, you know, up relatively close, literally you can just go down, so catch a lot of fish. But I think it's time for us to check in. I appreciate you guys riding along.